My name is Charlie McGrath. I'm the founder of WideAwakeNews.com and a host on the Rinse Radio Network. This video was going to be about the 19th European Summit in order to save Europe from the sovereign debt crisis that they are involved in that will soon be the world's problem. That video might be coming tonight, maybe tomorrow, but I decided to do a video on a topic that has been on the top of my mind and at the forefront of my mind for the last month and has really come to a head in the last week or so. And that is this division that we have going on, not just mainstream. I mean, that is to be expected. You know, it's 2012. It's July 2012. We're in a political season. Division is going to be everywhere. We're going to see this nonstop now until the election in November. We're going to see the right blame the left, left blame the right. We're going to see gays blame straights, straights are going to blame gays. We're going to see men blame women. We're going to see atheists blame religious zealots. We're going to see religious zealots blaming wrong religion zealots. And the list goes on and on. It's going to be about blame thy neighbor, blame the person next door to you. This isn't news. This is a tactic that's been used over and over again. I remember talking about it in 2009, coming into the 2010 wave election. We were going to see a lot of blame being issued on Democrats for the condition of the economy. Sure enough, we had the Tea Party roll in that really wasn't the Tea Party. It was a co-opted Glenn Beck version of the Tea Party. And I said then in 2012, you wait and see. You're going to see the pendulum swing from one direction to another. You're going to see the accusations be leveled, not against the too big to fail banks, not against the institutions that are still in existence, but really the people who are no longer in existence, the non-persons of the country, the people who are off the unemployment rolls and off the participation rolls, the people, millions at this point now since the collapse of 2008, literally millions upon millions who've lost their homes, lost their jobs, lost their future. They're going to be the ones to blame. It's easy to blame them. They can't talk back. They have no argument to make because they can't be heard, because in reality, they don't exist. So we will see this debate, divide and conquer, go forward through the November election. But what I wanted to talk about is the divide and conquer mentality that is absolutely overtaking the alternative media community. Now, it isn't full bore at this point. I believe it's going to get there, and I believe it's going to get there before sooner rather than later. Over the last month or so, I've seen this, he said, she said, you're with me or you're against me, you're Ron Paulite or you're not, you're a LaRouche PAC guy or you're not, you're a gold and silver guy or you're not, you're a sovereign or you're not, and if you're not in your clique, then obviously you're an idiot. If you don't follow me down the path to wherever I'm taking you, then obviously you're an idiot. I've seen it on multiple different channels, multiple different alleged or so-called personalities in alternative media, and I just want to make a statement on it. You know, a good friend of mine, Warren Pollock, and I were having a discussion in Skype tonight. This is what led me to change tonight's presentation to talk about, just shoot from the hip about what culture is and what divide and conquer is, and how this is overwhelming all the alternative movement, and we need to stop it, and we need to stop it now, here and now. In our conversation, Warren sent me a link that I'll put with this video. It's LaRouche, his latest video coming out, 20 minutes long, 91-year-old Lyndon LaRouche talking about the demise of the culture, and this is why we'll never have real change. And it started, he gives a timeline. Back in the day, this happened, and then this person came along and destroyed the culture a little bit more. And, okay, this isn't the first, LaRouche isn't the first one to come out and say it's the people's fault. But I want to take a different approach to this. Because everybody listening to me right now, every one of the 3.5, 4 million people who watched my videos or people that tune into the radio program that have reached out to friends or family to try to wake people up, surely, most assuredly, our cultures are not the same. Culture, what is culture? Culture, you can't blame culture for the condition of our country. You can't blame culture any more than you can blame a disease for being a disease. Culture is what it is. Good, bad, ugly, it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. And what we have in our country, on this planet, is really a lack of culture, a lack of genuine culture that is talked about and portrayed as wholesome. What we do have is a culture that is presented by the mainstream media, We have a culture that is presented by politicians. We have a culture that is presented by the religious sect. And we have culture that is presented by the military-industrial complex. These cultures are sold to the people for their consumption, and they're used as nothing more than advertising fodder to convince them this is the culture of a nation, and so forth and so on. But when in reality, culture to an individual, to you, to me, to your friends, your family, is something completely different than, you know, the mainstream version of culture, which is sports figures making $50 million a year don't have to follow the same laws you do. People are turning to bath salts so they can turn into flesh-eating zombies. And the list goes on of what culture is according to the mainstream media. Mainstream media culture is whatever's titillating and disgusting, and you can compete with the other 1,000 media outlets out there. That is the culture. In politics, the culture isn't who's being murdered in your name. The culture isn't how on earth can we let this Federal Reserve System continue to destroy this country and yet turn to them for help. That should be our culture, our political culture, but it isn't. Our political culture is something different. Gay marriage, gay rights, Obamacare. You know, if you look at the right, we want to talk about waving the flag, spreading democracy around the world, and going and getting them terror-loving terrorists before they come and get us. That isn't real culture. This is propaganda. Culture, the people that I know, the people I care about, the people who talk to me through YouTube or the radio program, their culture is a real organic culture. Culture of family. You know, they want to tuck their kids in at night. They want to give their kiss or give their husband or wife a kiss goodnight and go do their job the next day. That is culture. Taking care of family, taking care of community. That's culture. This other garbage isn't. But it's really irrelevant to sit here and talk and blame this propagandized culture for not leading to any kind of change in this country. See, there is no difference between somebody getting mad at the culture, at the populace in general, because they don't see the world through the same prism that they do. It's just as fruitless to get mad at somebody for that, for not seeing things exactly as the way you do, as it is to not realize that the culture that we talk about, the culture that Lyndon LaRouche talks about in this video, isn't real. It isn't a real, tangible, bona fide culture. It's a propagandized version of a nation's culture. This is what the whole awakening, the whole alternative movement bore out of, was this fanciful, fictitious propaganda. And if we go the way of the mainstream, well, guess what, guys? Guess what? We don't have the personalities, we don't have the funding, we don't have the same kind of support, and we certainly do not have the blessing of the mainstream to continue this message. So if we grab onto this, be with me or you're against me, divide and conquer mentality, we've already lost. So what's the point with this long blathering and ranting about culture? There's a lot of people who are trying to wake up. There's a lot of people who are being inundated and bombarded with the fantasy, fictitious culture, nonstop. Media, on the television, the computer, print, you're being bombarded with a fantasy version of reality, version of culture. We, in the alternative movement, have to be open-minded. Whatever word you want to use, open-minded, tolerant, understand. But most importantly, we have to be grounded in the reality that nobody, and I mean nobody, is lockstep with everybody. No one's going to agree with me 100% of the time on everything. And if they did, I don't want them around me because they're not thinking for themselves. Nobody is going to have all the answers. Understand this. Because if you're sold out that Ron Paul's got all the answers or Rand Paul's got all the answers, you're going to be very, very disappointed. And you're going to feel betrayed at the end of the day. So if somebody wants to talk about gold and silver, and you absolutely think that's a horrible idea because you watched The Secrets of Oz and you believe that gold and silver, which is this is a great example. Gold and silver. We got to go to sound money, sound currency. We got to have gold. Gold's money. Gold, silver's money. This has been the Earth's money. You know, I've said these words myself, and I believe it. I believe that they're always going to have value and they're a great store of wealth. But it's also a fact that the rich, the uber rich, and the super elite banksters throughout time and history have always wanted a gold standard because they control the gold. and it's scarce, and they can make it even more scarce, causing more economic hardship, giving them more ability to take over and buy things such as land and property for pennies on the dollar, whatever the case may be. So there's a great argument out there that, you know what, we need to get away from any kind of gold or silver standard, and we have to have the Constitution stand, as it says in Article 1, Section 8, that Congress is going to coin money and determine the value thereof. It doesn't say anything about gold and silver in Article 1, Section 8. It says Congress will coin the money and determine the value thereof. They can make it out of shells, river rocks. It doesn't really matter. Determine the value. Congress does that, and we use this as a currency of the nation. Abraham Lincoln did it. The point is this. Gold, silver, there's a big community that loves it. Loves it. There's a lot of people who are pumping it. There's a lot of people pumping it because they believe in it, and there's a lot of people pumping it because they want to make money pumping it. Now, I personally believe that precious metals is a great store of your wealth. I'm not sold on the idea that we need to have a gold-backed currency or use gold coins for currency, because history tells us this can be just as abused as the Federal Reserve System is being abused right now. But you have such a big division when you start talking about these subsets of the alternative movement that if you hear me now and I'm talking about silver, you might be ready to just hit the off button and think that I'm an absolute lunatic, I am a shill, and blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, when this collapse occurs, which it's going to happen. This is coming to fruition at some point. We are going to be offered a solution. And the solution is going to be either a bunch of division in alternative, or people that are awake, dividing up and being in separate little sects and separate little cults, and not really willing to talk to one another. And then that way, the people who are consolidated, these same power elite that are consolidated right now, they might argue in front of the cameras, but they're consolidated behind the scenes. They will have their way with the populace once again. We need to understand that you're not right about everything. You're not wrong about everything either. I'm not right about everything, nor am I wrong about everything. And fill in the blank as far as alternative media or mainstream media personality goes. We need to have an open mind and listen to one another. And when we see the backbiting start, we need to stop it as soon as it starts. And the best way to stop it isn't to get in on a chat board and start saying hateful things about the person saying it. The number one way that you can eliminate somebody who's participating in this attacking is to ignore them. Ignore them. Because that makes them irrelevant. And when they're irrelevant, guess what? They go away. Number one way to deal with a troll is pretend you didn't see it, hear it, or even acknowledge that this person exists. Because when you do that, they lose their power. Their power is your response. Take that power from them, they go away. This is a warning video to everybody who's followed me over the years. I'm not even going to send this to have published on Rinse or anywhere else. I'm just going to put this on the Krabby Dog Tricks channel, because I'm seeing it more and more in comments. I'm seeing it more and more from my friends in alternative media, and I know what this game plan is. It's divide and conquer. We're divided, we will be conquered. And the only way we can truly remain in solidarity is to understand that we don't know it all. We don't. But we're trying to look for the truth. We're trying to look through the truth through the forest of lies. I'll attach LaRouche's piece to this, and for now, that's all I got.